Hi. So, how's your book doing? Do you ever know how to answer that? Have you been asked that before? I've been asked that several times since I became an author back in 2014, and it never gets old. Hey, Brandy, how you doing? How's your book doing? It's doing good, I guess. They ask it as if it's a newborn baby. But once I understood what they were asking about the success of the book. And I have actually had to sit down and think, well, how is my book doing? I don't think we ever thought about selling the book when we wrote the book. I know I didn't. I just wanted to tell my story, get it out there, and let the chips fall where they may, because that's all I wanted to do was get it out there. But then when I realized I really do want to make money, I do want to leave an impact and make an income. And so I had to sit down with myself and say, okay, where can I sell my book? And I wrote down all the things, all the places that I could go to sell my book. So that's the first tip that I would give you is where can you go to sell your book? Think about your local area, and just off the top of my head, bookstores, your local bookstores. I'm not talking about Barnes and Noble and the high chain. You can do that too, but those are common knowledge. But even in those types of settings, you're not going to always get a plethora of sales just because it's at Barnes and Noble or something like that. But think of local library, bookstore, vending events is a huge network for you to go out, set up a table, and talk to people and network. Another place that I would suggest is having your own website. I know that Amazon and 48-hour books and all of those websites offer online platforms, but that is not direct to you. So, of course, when we go through Amazon, Amazon has a 70-30 split. For those who may not know, 70-30 means you get 70% of the sales, Amazon gets 30%. But if you had your own website, guess what? You get 100%. So if you don't have your own website set up, then that's something that I would suggest. So if you've been listening to this and you're like, yeah, that sounds great. I need more tips because that's just the bottom line of selling. Like those are the locations. But one thing that we need to get down to is how much do you want to make every month off of your book? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about how many books a day do you need to sell in order to reach that goal? Now, that's not stuff that we think about when writing the book. You're not thinking, okay, I need to sell 15 books a day, times whatever, so that I can have this income by the end of the month. So if you've been an author for a month, if you've been an author for 10 years, have you made $1,000 a month off of your book? It's possible, but you have to have the right arenas. Let's say you have to have the right things set up in order, the right channels be set up in order to make that income. And there's so many different ones. I can't just say these three and nothing else. My personal suggestion is to set up as many platforms as you can, get your book in as many hands and stores as you can, and then see what the impact is. Let's just say you put your book in a local store. We have a like a local mom and pop bookstore, and every time the book sells, you send them another one because they will send you a check. They have 70-30, 60-40 splits as well because you are using their store to sell your book. But just pick up the phone and call the stores in your area and say, hey, I'm a local author and I just wanted to know if I could put my book in your store. They're only going to have one of two answers: yes or no. And if they say yes, they may say, well, yes, and we have a shelving fee. Shelving fee just means you pay them a shelf fee. It could be $25 a month. It could be $25 a year. It just depends on what the location is and what they request. And then they'll tell you, we get 40% of your sales, you get 60% or whatever their agreement is. And as long as you keep the book stocked, but you'll know how often they're calling you if to restock the book if that book is in a good location. That is my top tips for getting your branding and marketing, or selling your book, not getting your branding and marketing, but setting your book up in multiple locations gives you leverage over somebody who's only on Amazon. If you want to do a consultation, I could be more specific with you to your book and your network and your branding. And I brought that up twice, so let me just go ahead and say books are a business. They're not just books. You are a brand. And so when people buy into your story or your book, they're also buying into you. So, what does your branding look like? Is it one thing on your website, one thing on LinkedIn, one thing on Twitter? Or are you uniform? Are your colors matching on all those platforms? Or do you look like a different person on each of those platforms? Those are things that we need to discuss. And is the book your bread and butter? And if you don't know what I mean by that, is the book your end all be all? Or can you pull a coaching program out of your book? There's about 25 streams of income in every book. Just think about that. 25 extra streams of income. That means that my $15 book can also be a $10,000 coaching program if your book is about lifestyles, lifestyle changes, things like that. Can you create something out of your book or from your book that will also bring you income? Because maybe your $15 book won't create that $10,000 of $20,000 that you want every year or every month. But if you had a coaching program that you could create out of that, then there's your $10,000 to $20,000. So if any of that interests you, go ahead and schedule a free consultation. Sometimes being on the right track also means creating something new so that we can continue to race together. Have a great day and continue to stay on the right track.